Mrs. Lee, might as well. I'm walking through a ghost town, y'all ain't playing my sounds. Don't tell me to calm down, don't tell me to calm down. Only time I go backwards is when I wanna moonwalk. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. We are who we say that we are. Yeah, we're lost in the stars, and it's all from the start. Never running no pace, never on the right page, but we still read that book, and we still run that race. Ay, Mississippi Racer riding out, no shortcuts, no time for that. Mississippi Racer riding out till the wheels fall off, I'm driving that. Mississippi Racer riding out, we'll stop burning, strike the match. Mississippi Racer riding out, red light, green light, red light, good night. Ay, red light, green light, red light, good night. 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 Time to chill, don't sweat it.
Good morning and welcome. It is Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show powered by Wire to Wire Network. Thank you so much for making us part of your morning routine. I am Chris, and that, of course, that over there is Mo. Mo, happy Wednesday, sir.
Happy Wednesday to you and your scenic background.
That's right. It's another edition of the Nature Channel over here with Chris Mo. Mo, last night, 20,366 fans. That was the attendance for the Aces and the Fever. It is the most attended WNBA game in the last 25 years. The last game to eclipse that number was during the 1999 season for the WNBA. Mo, once again, it's another number for Caitlin Clark. Let's add a couple more to that, shall we? Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese were named to the WNBA All-Star team as rookies. Speaking of the WNBA All-Star team, Caitlin Clark received just over 700,000 All-Star votes. She was the number one vote receiver of all of the women in the WNBA. Mo, last season, A'ja Wilson was the number one vote receiver in all of the WNBA, but she didn't even receive 100,000 votes last year. Again, no matter how you slice and dice it, she brings people to the sport. And we just keep seeing it, Mo. Every number we give, every time we talk about her, it doesn't matter what she's doing as far as wins and losses go, because the one consistent thing is she brings people to the sport. And ultimately, Mo, isn't that the best case scenario for the WNBA? Because she doesn't need to be winning for people to show up for her, because she's not on a good team. She is on a team that could very easily miss the playoffs. I mean, they're battling for the 8th seed right now in the playoffs. So she doesn't need to win for people to show up, and not just show up, Mo. Show up in record numbers.
We've been talking about this even before she came into the WNBA. She literally brings her own fan base. And it seems like her own fan base brings in other fans and casual fans. So she's a draw. And I think that it's impressive that she's a draw where she's not even the best version of the player that she'll be as her career progresses, as she continues to develop. How will she grow that fan base when she's playing at an all-star or superstar level? I think that's interesting because there's a steady growth of fans, especially casual fans. And I wanted to know, could that be sustainable going forward for not like 1 or 2 years, but for the next 10 years? I think it's very possible. And again, I don't think she's doing this on her own, but to be fair to her, look, she's the most popular player in the league. She came in with that same fanfare. So I don't view that as a negative. I think it's a positive thing. And like I said, we've constantly said, get on board. Get on board.
Mo, we got more NBA news. We have more potential NBA news. We're going to mix in and go through all that right now. Let's start with Draymond Green. Draymond Green is not happy, Mo. He is not happy that Paul George is not currently a Warrior. And he was very transparent on his feelings. He accused the Clippers of, quote, not wanting to play the game. He said that Paul George wanted to be a Warrior and that the Warriors wanted Paul George to be a Warrior, and that the only person that didn't seem to want that were the Clippers, because the Clippers were not willing to put together a deal to allow Paul George to become a Warrior. Reports say that the hangup was Kuminga. The Clippers wanted him as part of the deal. The Warriors said no, and as a result, no deal was made. Paul George walks, and then because of that, the Warriors just don't have the money. They couldn't afford to sign him straight up and give him the max deal. The only way they were going to get him was going to be in the sign and trade. Mo, do you listen to Draymond's comments and look at Draymond's words? And is he just upset that he didn't get the guy he wanted? Or do you think there is more to it than that? Because the Clippers have no obligation to play ball. They have no obligation to send Paul George to where he wants to go. And by the way, let's not act like Paul George didn't come out of this deal all right for himself. Most would say that he is going to a better team, a team that is actually going to contend for a championship.
Right.
And he got more money in the process. So it's not like Paul George is waking up this morning playing for the Detroit Pistons. Paul George is in a pretty good spot, Mo.
And Draymond's just salty because he's like, well, the Clippers didn't want to play ball. The Clippers did want to play ball. Y'all didn't want to play ball. The Clippers realized how much you value Paul George. So they're like, we want value. We want Kuminga. You said no. Once you said no to that deal, if I'm the Clippers, we have nothing else to talk about. I don't want Wiggins. I don't want Gary Payton Jr. I don't want the guys that you don't want. So, no, it isn't like the Clippers screwed them over. And like you said, they're not obligated to do Paul George a solid. It's not like while the time he was there, they won multiple championships or any championships. So Draymond's just whining because he's dealing with the harsh reality that Golden State, they might not even make the play-in this year. And I think he's a little hurt over the fact that they're done in terms of being relevant. Like Steph is not going to be done because he'll play at an all NBA level and he'll make another All-Star team. But as far as them mattering in the playoff picture, look, unless they pull off a deal that I don't foresee coming, the current roster, at best, that's a play-in roster. I think it's laughable that he's like, the Clippers didn't want to take what we offered them. You offered them guys that you didn't even want. Why would they want them?
Couldn't you argue as a Laker fan that the Warriors didn't want to play when it came to Chris Paul? Because the Warriors were like, oh, we don't really want D'Angelo Russell. Like, if that's what you're offering, the answer is no. So couldn't Laker fans look at that and be like, well, come on, Warriors, just play the game here. Like, help us out a little bit. And the Warriors were like, no, we would rather cut Chris Paul than take that deal.
Same situation. They're literally doing what's best for their team as the Clippers were doing. They knew they were going to lose Paul George. A sign and trade could have been very possible. But remember, Paul George also opted out. He didn't have to opt out. He could have opted in and left the door open for some kind of sign and trade down the road. He did that. I think he got impatient. And big picture, Paul George on the Sixers is a lot more interesting to me than Paul George on the Warriors. So I think that Draymond, look, you guys have some wiggle room. You have some assets. Maybe go after a guy like DeMar DeRozan, who I think is a terrific player. People kill him because his weakness is he doesn't shoot the three at an elite level. He does not. But what he does is anything inside the three, 18 feet away, he's a monster. Gets to the free throw line 8 times a game. Averages over 5.5 assists per game. So he also can create for others. I think he has great value. So I don't understand why a lot of people are hesitant to sign him. He's the same age as Paul George, same age as James Harden, same age as a lot of these guys. And I would say that I think he's playing at as high a level as any of them are. So I think he has great value. Look, all dynasties come to an end. The harsh reality is Golden State, what they were able to do a couple of years ago, I still stand by that. I think it's their most impressive title because no one saw it coming. They weren't a front runner. That was amazing. But I think that was their last title. And in a perfect world, we said this, maybe they don't win any more titles, but they stay relevant by being in the playoff picture. They're not really relevant. Evidenced by what happened to them last year and the year before, they're not really relevant. And it's a tough pill to swallow. Losing Klay, they can say it doesn't hurt, but it absolutely hurt. It absolutely changes what they are and what they could be. I think in a perfect world, they wanted to keep Klay and Paul George. But Klay was like, and you're going to pay me what? You know what I mean? And yet with Klay, with the Warriors, he mentioned money. But when he had the opportunity to go to the Lakers, Klay was like, nah, I'm good. I think I'll go to the Mavs. I'm good. It's very interesting that he could have made more money with the Lakers, but he's like, I don't think so. And look, I wouldn't sign up for that circus either. I'm good. I totally understand it.
And Mo, I stand by what we talked about a couple of weeks ago with Klay Thompson. I mean, the Warriors reports came out after it was announced Klay was leaving that the Warriors told him if he stays with the Warriors, he was coming off the bench this upcoming season. And we talked about this, and I said a couple of weeks ago, if it's any other team, I think he's okay with it. But how do you come off the bench with a team where you were a splash brother, where Steph isn't coming off the bench and Dre's not coming off the bench,
right?
And everyone's still talking about the Warriors like they still might be that dynasty that won the 4 titles that you were an integral part of, but now you're the bench player. There's a difference between coming off the bench and coming off the bench where you were part of greatness and you were greatness, and now you're not that anymore. So I think he can come off the bench. I just don't think he can come off the bench in Golden State.
I think that's a great point. That's a great point. And there's a pride factor, right? Because you're like you said, Draymond's not coming off the bench. He's not going to make any more All-Star games. He's not. But you're asking me to come off the bench. And when you talk about the Warriors now, you say Steph Curry, Draymond Green, almost as if Klay's no longer on the roster anymore. Like it's really strange. And I think it's deflating to a player's spirit and to their ego. I think he had to go. And there's a part of me that's rooting for Klay to have a monster season. And maybe I'm not saying I'm rooting for the Mavs to get to the finals, but I wouldn't have a problem with it. I wouldn't have a problem with it at all.
All right, Mo, let's bring on Will this morning. We got some more NBA stuff to talk about, and who better to talk about that with than the man himself when it comes to the NBA, and that, of course, is Will. Will, how are you this morning, sir?
How you guys doing this morning?
Morning, Will.
Crazy free agency nowadays. Well, crazy free agency.
Will, you may not know this, but one of Mo's all-time favorite NBA players is Buddy Hield. One of his all-time favorite players, all right? And he is pretty jazzed. He is pretty jazzed to know that Buddy might be on the move and he might become a Warrior. Will, we've heard the Warriors are serious. Now, I don't know Buddy Hield and serious. I know those words don't usually go together, but they are in serious talks right now to pry Buddy Hield from the cold, dead hands of the 76ers and add him to their team. Will, what does a Buddy Hield on the Warriors look like as far as fit goes? Because now you're looking at and I saw this morning, and it made me feel a little weird on the inside. Some Warrior fans are like, well, our big three is going to be Steph, Buddy, and Draymond. Okay. What is the fit of Buddy on the Warriors?
I don't think it looks like much. I think he pretty much continues maybe a depth piece. I don't think it's a big 3 piece at all. Buddy's falling off a little bit, and look, Golden State's going to be a bad team regardless, unless they can get a prime free agent, which they won't, which is why they're trying to dig for and try to pry Buddy Hield away from the Sixers. I don't think it really makes much of a difference other than being a depth piece. Somebody can come in, maybe get you 10, 12 points off the bench. I don't think it'd be anything a huge time get for the Warriors. I don't think it would be.
Mo, what do you think Buddy's fit is with Golden State?
Look, he's a really good catch and shoot guy. Their whole game is space the floor, move the bodies, move the ball. So I think that the way that we envisioned they wanted Klay to play a lesser role, they're bringing him in to kind of supplement Klay and be a lesser version of Klay, if you will. So can he help them? Yeah. But if you're a Warriors fan, does it get you into the playoffs? No, it's Buddy Hield. I mean, no, I don't mean, I know it sounds like I'm banging on him. I'm not banging on him. I'm simply saying he's not, we talk about moving the needle.
Yeah,
that doesn't move it. That's all I'm saying.
Don't move it.
I'm not saying he wouldn't really be good on a bad team. He's not very good.
I don't think he replaces Clay production because you got to look at what Clay did last year. He's not going to get he more than likely won't get the playing time to duplicate what he did. Number one, and number two, Clay is still even now over the injuries. I still think Clay is the better player than Buddy Hield, even with the injuries.
Oh, I agree flat out. Look, if Buddy Hield gives the Warriors 17 points a game and shoots 40% a clip from three, the Warriors are going to be a play-in team, which is more than I expect for them this season. Yeah. But I don't envision Buddy Hield doing that for them. Look, like I said, these dynasties come to an end. Bringing on Buddy Hield, it's like Mo, to me, it's like you're showing the fan, okay, we're trying to do something. Yeah, man. Maybe that's what it's for. Yeah. That move is to show your season ticket holders, hey, we're going to put some more people around Steph. I get it, but you need to put better people around. You need to put quality pieces around Steph. Is what you need. Look, and I don't think that's the big three. The actual big three, with the way they're built, it's going to be Draymond, Steph, and Kuminga. Yep.
And Will, you got to have that press conference where someone new comes and gets their jersey and takes the pictures and talks about joining the team. So you got to have that moment. So they're trying to get someone to fill the void of newest player to join the team. Let's talk to him right now. Right. Speaking of news, let's talk about LeBron James. He is staying a Laker, Will. He signs a 2-year deal, $104 million. Just when you think you know what LeBron's going to do, LeBron says, no, guys. We all thought he was going to opt out. We all thought he was going to wait until the very last moment to sign anything. We all thought he was going to take a 1-year deal when he finally did sign somewhere so that he could kind of play this out year by year. And he does wait a little bit, but he doesn't wait until the very end. He does take a shorter deal, but he doesn't take a 1-year deal. And he doesn't really flirt with, to our knowledge, any other teams besides the Lakers. He takes the 2-year, $104 million deal. And immediately after he signs, Will, the next question is DeMar next? Because he wouldn't just re-sign to the Lakers and this be it, right, Will? There has to be a who's next kind of move coming, right, Will? Because my only cause for pause, and then again, the Bulls might be dumb enough to fall for it. You keep it okay. Lakers not trading Bron. Lakers not trading AD. Lakers not trading. Lakers is not trading Great White Hope. So if you're not trading those three players, if you're not trading those three in Austin Reeves, if you're not trading those three players, and you expect to get a player. I'm not going to sit here and say DeMar is on the better end of his career because he's not. He's more toward the end. But if you try to give me D'Lo, Ruchi Haramura, Gabe Vincent for DeMar, really? And the Bulls be dumb enough to fall for it? Man, I'm done. I'm out as a Bull. I don't like the Josh Giddey issue. I don't like that.
Chris is right. That's all they can give you.
That's all they can give you.
That's what they have to work with. Yeah, that's what they can give you. Look, I think DeMar DeRozan would be a better fit than the Lakers than most because people are hung up on the fact that he doesn't shoot a three. But will you watch him? I watch him a ton, and while he's not at his peak, he's still a bucket getter. He's still shooting 48% from the field. And I keep telling people.
Mid-range team.
Right. When a guy can get to the foul line just under 9 times a game, that means that even when he's having a bad shooting night, he can generate offense out of nowhere by getting to the free throw line. He's also an underrated playmaker.
Yep.
The last 7 years, he's averaged 5 or more assists per game. So the idea that he wouldn't be productive or effective in that, he's not Russ. So the difference between DeMar and Russ is this. One, Russ can't shoot at all. Nope. DeMar doesn't shoot threes. But anything 18 feet and in, and DeMar DeRozan is a monster, not to mention his ability to attack off the dribble. Yep. So he has value. The question is, though, because if I'm Chicago, I'm not really listening to anything the Lakers have. And I'm a Laker fan. I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
If you're trying to get me hyped about, you're going to get Rui. You're getting Gabe Vincent. He goes, "What are you complaining about?" And you're getting D'Lo. D'Lo made an All-Star team. What are you talking about?
Nah, man, we all right.
Like
We're
I
all
can
right.
see the lineup now. You put D'Lo with Josh Giddey and Kobe White. Explosive offense. Come on, Chicago,
No.
get with the program.
Nah,
Hey,
man.
don't be
That
like
don't
Drake.
work for me.
Don't be like the Clippers. Play ball. Let's
That
go.
don't work for me, man.
Let's go,
Play ball,
man.
That don't work for
Chicago.
me, man.
Make
That
a
don't work for me,
bad
man.
trade for your team that's good for our team. Play ball. Come on.
Not saying that the Bulls are going to be championship contenders either way, trade or no trade, but as a Bulls fan, because you can't get rid of Levine because of his injury history and his contract demands. Now you trading DeMar for basically Cheetos and cookies.
I like Cheetos. And I'm okay with cookies. Look, I'll say this.
But I don't like the Laker flavor.
I got you. And that's fair. Look, and on the LeBron contract, Chris, he actually did what we expected him to do. It's a 2-year deal.
Yeah.
He has a player option.
Yeah,
so basically, he's gonna we're gonna be this next offseason, he's gonna be sitting there. I'm gonna wait and see what you guys do. Like, my guess is if the Lakers have the kind of season they have last year, where they end in the first round of the playoffs, I think that guy's leaving. I think that guy's leaving.
My thing is this, and yeah, the news came out that LeBron called Clay. Come on through. Come on down to us.
That hurt their chances of getting him.
Yeah. But at some point, man, when are we gonna start holding Rob Pelinka accountable for this stuff?
Not just Rob, Jeannie.
She's a corporate too.
Not just Rob, because Jeannie rides superstar players until the wheels fall off.
Yep.
And she never thinks about the future or the ramifications for your franchise. What's going to happen is at some point, Chris, LeBron's going to leave. And the Lakers will have no trade assets, no up-and-coming young players, and they're going to be bad for 6, 8, maybe even 10 years.
And what did you
because
get
of the
for
situation they put themselves in? Yeah.
And what did you get for it? A bubble ring. Bubble ring.
Hey, look, I'll take a ring, and I'm sure what Jeannie is saying is, I brought LeBron here to win a title. He won a title. I just feel like when you know the title window has closed, what are we doing here? Are we doing window dressing? Because
right.
I don't see the benefits. We're not winning a title. We're not even considered a title contender. Why would you not think about making moves for the future? Like AD, obviously AD has great value still. I'm thinking about the future. If we're not putting together a team that's going to compete for a title, why are we putting together a mediocre team that has high hopes, knowing full well they're a playing team? That doesn't make sense to me. And next year he'll be a year older, AD will be a year older, and we're gonna have the same conversations. Dude, be smarter than that. That's all.
And then look at all that young talent you gave up.
They did, but they got that one ring. And I'm just gonna make a point. The argument from Lakers management will be right. We got rid of Brandon Ingram. We got rid of Lonzo Ball. They had Julius Randle at one point. Hell, they had Jordan Clarkson at one point. They got rid of all that talent. I think even Josh Hart was a Laker.
Yeah, for a minute he was.
We got rid of all that young talent. What they're going to say is, you know what none of those guys did? None of those guys won anything. They didn't win anything, which is a factual thing. They haven't won anything. None of them.
Well, I want to be a fly on the wall in that trade agreement when the Lakers open it up and they're like, all right, listen, we'll give you Vincent and D'Lo. And the Bulls are like, nah. And they're like, well, all right. We'll sweeten the deal. You made us do this. All right, this is for you. We'll add the big Rory to it.
Yeah, enough, man.
You know all they have to offer.
And then the Lakers are like, now you're twisting our arm. You're robbing us.
You robbing us. You're taking from us.
Robbing us. We're giving you Rui. Now you're killing us.
Come on, man.
Come on, Bulls. Get on board.
No.
Let's be honest.
Don't listen to the Lakers. Don't do it.
Both of our teams are going nowhere, but if we make this trade, at least we'll go somewhere.
And that's y'all. That's going to put us even further down the cellar.
Y'all ain't going anywhere. Don't worry.
That's going to put us there. That's going to put the Bulls further down the cellar.
Well, let's talk about grading some of the other moves that were made. Let's start with James Wiseman. James Wiseman joins the Pacers on a 2-year deal. How would you grade that deal for the Pacers, Will?
I hate the fact that he didn't get a chance, that Golden State didn't really get an opportunity, because I get it. He came in at the wrong time. And I hate the fact that Golden State did get a chance to really work with him and develop him as a true big. A C, because the best I can see him doing is coming off the bench for depth at the center position.
What do you think, Mo?
I think it's an opportunity for James Wiseman to revive his career. If he can't thrive in that up tempo system with the way Halliburton pushes the ball, then I don't know what to say about the young man. But it's a good opportunity. We forget. I know he's been in the league like 3 or 4 years.
He's young though.
I still think he's 21, 22
yeah,
years
like 21,
old.
22. Yeah,
he's a very young player. So I know we make jokes from time to time. In all seriousness, I hope it's a good spot where he can make an NBA home, and maybe he can.
Will, this is the time of free agency where you're going to see a lot of the veterans go. Monte Morris goes to the Suns. We don't know the terms of the deal yet. The Suns are in salary cap hell right now.
Yep.
They're like $24 million over the second apron. So we have to assume it's going to be a 1-year vet kind of deal, because that's what they can do right now. But how would you grade the Monte Morris signing?
It don't do anything for me. I'll give it another C. It doesn't do any. Just a vet trying to come in, earn a spot for depth.
I think Monte Morris is actually gonna get significant playing time in Phoenix, because I think he's the only actual real point guard on the roster.
Yep.
So I think he gets playing time, unless he's a vet, but he's not an older vet. He's still in his mid-20s. And they're not asking him to score 20 points a night. I think they're just asking him to be able to run the ball. Run the offense and get guys in their sets. So to me, it's a low risk, high reward signing.
My only call for pause is he gonna get that? Because if Bud wants to make this 3-player triangle work in Phoenix between Bill, and the crew, how much playing time can he really get? Because you're off the bench maybe, if you committed to your 3-man rotation.
Right, but who's your starting 5? KD's at the 3, right? Mm-hmm. Book's at the 2. Mm-hmm. I don't think they want Bill to start at point guard. They might, but he's not a natural point guard. That hasn't worked already. And let's be honest, the only reason he's still there is because don't nobody want that contract either. Nobody wants the same way you guys can't get rid of Zach LaVine, you can't get rid of Bradley. Maybe the only trade that can be made is Bradley Beal for Zach LaVine.
The Suns open up every offer with, all right, so how do you feel about Beal?
Right.
And every team's like, we don't. At that money, we don't.
Upside.
Right.
Will, how about Jonathan Isaac? He extends with the Magic, 5 years, $84 million.
I like that. I'll give that an A. I like that. For some crazy reason, I don't.
That's an interesting signing, but let me just ask.
I like that. For some crazy reason, I like it.
I'm happy he's healthy. I'm happy he's playing again, but he's already kind of changed his career trajectory to where he's not looking to be a star. He's looking to be a defensive stopper. He's looking to be a 3-and-D guy. I just think the Magic are a team who they don't lack for great defenders. What they lack for, Will, is shot creators and scoring.
Yeah.
I know you want him back, but that money to me is better spent going out and getting you another shot creator. They're one of the worst offensive teams in basketball, and that's with Paolo, because they don't have a lot of shot creators and consistent shot makers. KCP is a good pickup because as a catch and shoot guy, but he's not a shot creator. They have a lot of guards that have the same skill sets.
But I just think, but the reason why I like Isaac is because he did change his game. 3-and-D guys, you said you can move if you have to, or if a position a player becomes available who can break other players down off the dribble and create offense. You can trade that asset to someone else. So that's why I kind of like the move, because 3-and-D guys, they do have value.
They do, but a lot of them don't make $84 million.
That's true. You're gonna have to break the bank. We're gonna have to break the bank and make the money work. Maybe a third team.
That is very true. And then the last one here, Will, Kyle Anderson, sign and trade. Finally, someone played ball with the Warriors, and it was the Minnesota Timberwolves. sign and trade for Kyle Anderson, 3 years, $27 million.
I thought that was a little too much money. I thought it was a little too much money for everything that he brings you, but he had a decent run in the playoffs, so I don't have a problem with it. B minus.
What do you think, Mo?
I think it's a good signing because Kyle Anderson is one of those guys that a lot of things that he does well for you, it doesn't come up on the stat sheet. He makes winning plays. He's got a super high basketball IQ, so he'll fit in great automatically in what they do. I think it's a really good signing. The only thing that's disappointing is this signing would have had so much more of an impact if they had more firepower. Do you know what I mean? I hate that they make this signing and they're kind of like near the end of their run versus had they made this signing and they were able to retain Clay or at least get somebody to replace Clay. But it's a good signing.
And again, I just think this is something that, teams do to say, hey, we're trying to recover from a bad situation.
That's a great point.
Just like the Clippers did by giving James Harden that terrible contract. No, you don't do that. You don't do that. And I think this is what this is. For those who know who Kyle Anderson is and what he can produce for you, I just think that this is another move that says, hey, we're trying to overcome the situation.
Dub Nation is already getting out the t-shirts that say slow-mo. They're already getting hyped. They're already getting hyped for Kyle Anderson. Slow-mo's coming.
Slow-mo. Man, that man made you hit that made him and that Tobias Harris, particularly Tobias Harris. Ooh, 2 for 52.
Hey, that was a typical Detroit Piston move. I have no problem with Tobias Harris taking $26 million a year. Why would he not take $26 million a year? But the Pistons bringing him in the first, because you gotta have a spin room, right? The spin is Tobias provides us with veteran leadership. You can say a lot of things about Tobias Harris. He has not been a leader anywhere. He's not a leader. He's not a leader. He just not. Look, if you're going to bring him, and I made the joke the other day with Brett, if you're going to bring in Tobias Harris, you might as well sign his buddy Boban because they're great together in commercials and stuff. Bring in the big guy Boban and have him because give the Pistons fan base. You know what you said, Will? We're giving the fan base a reason to be happy.
Reading for hope.
Bring in Boban and do some commercials, some community stuff, and have some fun. Have some fun.
Will, we appreciate you coming on. Where else can we see you today or later on this week, sir?
Oh man, I'll be over on we do a player versus team over on YouTube. Co-host over there. And then of course my Geek Gauntlet podcast. Every Saturday night, 10 p.m. We talk all stuff geek, anime, comics, video games, you name it. We talk about it, Star Wars. Definitely check us out every Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern.
Hey, Will, quick question. You watch My Hero Academia?
Yeah.
My daughter got me hooked in that stuff. Now I can't stop watching it.
That's how it happens. My younger sister got me into an anime called Moldiver, and from that point forward, I've just always been into anime.
Yeah, I'm hooked now. I can't get over the All Might guy with the because I'm here. That kills me.
Everything's all right because I'm
right.
Here.
The guy, I've never seen somebody constantly smile while they're fighting. I think that's interesting.
Yep.
Well, like I said, always a pleasure, sir. We'll see you next week. All right.
Thank you, guys. Y'all have a good morning. Take care.
You too.
All right, Mo, we are going to keep it moving here. We go right from Will right to the NFL genius himself. Gene is up on the stage. Good morning, Gene. How are you, sir?
Morning,
Gene. Good
morning.
It's a great morning in Philadelphia.
Gene, I thought of you. I thought of you watching episode 1 of Hard Knocks, and I was like, listen, the man watches so much football. I can watch an episode of the New York Giants Hard Knocks when I don't give a crap about the New York Giants. And Gene, I am sure that there are a million different things that you took away from it with the football acumen that you have. But the one thing that I thought was the coolest thing that I watched on that episode of Hard Knocks was the internal look at what an NFL trade looks like when it's just casually being thrown around and how it just comes out of nowhere and how you literally just got a couple of guys standing on the sidelines. This was not a situation where we were coming together to discuss trade, gentlemen. It was just a couple of guys standing on the sidelines, and all of a sudden, two ones for Brian Burns. Yeah, would you give me 2 1s for Brian? And they're like, no, we won't give you 2 1s. I mean, we might give you a 1 and like a 4. Like, and from there, Gene. Like, it wasn't a, hey, let's call in, because you look at NFL fans and they're like, well, how do trades come together? Do they actually pick up the phone and be like, we want to trade someone? What would you give us? Or no, because you realize it's stuff like that. It's just guys hanging out together because they're all supposed to be at an event for work, and then someone just kind of breaks the ice and is like, would you ever do 2 1s for Brian? And that's where it all started. Gene, that stuff is intriguing.
Yeah, 100%. I think the funniest part of the whole trade conversation with Brian Burns is Carolina could have got 2 1s for him at the trade deadline last year, and they didn't take it. And then, they basically casually floated out that he was available. And I'll give the Giants credit. They fleeced Carolina.
Yeah.
They didn't even get a 1 for him. I think they got pick 39, early 2, a 5th, and then a conditional 4th later. I think they ended up getting 3 picks when it was all said and done, but none were 1s. And Brian Burns is worth way more than that. But when you got to pay a team draft capital to overpay an edge rusher, I'm not saying that Brian Burns isn't worth the money, but when you're paying an edge rusher $25 million on a team that's not going to compete for a Super Bowl, it's a hefty price. So, I get it. I also found interesting the Saquon Barkley discussions. Did you see the conversation? I felt like that was a spin job. We know the cameras are on. This is our way of saying, well, we didn't want to disrespect him with a $7 million offer. And then they got into the whole thing well, we'll let him go test out free agency and see if we can match it. But I heard their general manager sit in that room and say, well, we have Wan'Dale Robinson. That's enough weapons for Daniel Jones. Oh, that was so hard to listen to.
Says nobody ever except for the New York
Giants.
Right.
Gene, Mo and I have been talking about Brandon Aiyuk for what seems like weeks on this show, and it seems like every time we can't possibly discuss any more Brandon Aiyuk stuff, we find more Brandon Aiyuk stuff to talk about. And once again, here we are this morning. Reports have come out. They've had conversations, but they are nowhere closer to a deal today than they were a few weeks ago, than they were a couple of months ago, than they were after the Super Bowl, when he wanted to remind us why they've been going to Super Bowls, which apparently in his mind is because of himself. Gene, we know he's under contract for the season. We know he's going to be a 49er this season. I don't know what more noise he can make. I mean, he's basically called himself the reason they're going to Super Bowls. He's created these weird FaceTime conversations with other teams. He shows up in other teams' gear to training camp. He calls out the 49ers in the media for reports that when the 49ers say they're not going to trade him, but then they were looking into trades for him. So he calls out the organization for basically lying. A couple of weeks ago, he calls himself a Lamborghini and says, if you can't afford a Lamborghini, you can't have a Lamborghini. I guess he's a Lamborghini. I don't know what else he can do to make noise, because he's done it all. And the 49ers have pretty much stayed pat as, you're going to be a Niner this season, and we'll discuss something else later on, but you're going to be a Niner this season.
So I think this is like a parent punishing a child for bad behavior. You're not going to get what you want if you keep putting out bad behavior. And I know that sounds kind of silly, but I think John Lynch is the type of guy that's just going to be all right, cool. Every single time you go on a radio talk show host or disrespect us in the media, I'm going to wait another week before I talk about your contract.
1,000%.
And I love that. I love that he's not allowing Brandon Aiyuk to dictate his future. Look, it's not the 49ers' responsibility to overpay him, A, or B, trade into a situation that he wants to be in. It's the 49ers' responsibility is to their team and to give them the best possible chance to win. If a deal comes up for Brandon Aiyuk in which they feel like they can live with that deal, great, they'll take it. But they're not going to rush that process because Brandon Aiyuk wants to act like a petulant child. I love that. I admire that type of behavior.
Gene, Tyreek Hill was asked about the numbers that wide receivers are getting with their new deals. One of the reasons he was asked is because there are rumblings that he wants a new number as well, even though he is currently under contract with the Miami Dolphins, which I totally believe he does want a new number as well. But to Tyreek's credit, he has also said numerous times publicly since the most recent wide receiver signings that he also wants to win a Super Bowl and that he knows he can't have the biggest number realistically if he also wants to win a Super Bowl. So he's saying all the right things, but I still believe he wants a new number. But Gene, that being said, you look at the wide receiver numbers from the latest round of wide receiver deals. You look at the quarterback numbers from the Goff deal, the Trevor Lawrence deal. Now you have the upcoming Tua deal. You have the upcoming Dak Prescott deal. Gene, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago here on the morning show. What is the natural reset for these numbers? Because the trend is, well, whoever gets paid the most, the next guy who values himself the same or better is going to get paid more. And that's where we've been going, year after year after year. But Gene, logic would tell you can't at some point pay a quarterback $80 million a year. Like right now, you got Burrow at 55, I believe. Dak, they're saying 60 if the Dallas Cowboys were to give him a deal. You got people with Tua being like, you can't give Tua 60. You can't give Tua 55. You should probably give him somewhere around 45 or 50. But the market says he should get like 52 or 53. What is the number where NFL teams, kind of like Major League Baseball did this offseason, where Major League Baseball was like, no, you're not going to hold us hostage, and we're not going to give you ridiculous numbers. We're going to offer you what we think is fair, not what market value is, according to you. Are we going to get that to that point with the NFL? Because these numbers are getting astronomical and they keep on going up. Can a team give a quarterback $75 million a year?
I think the next CBA, you'll start seeing position maxes. I think that's the next move that they'll go towards, is having a position match, because you're right. You are getting to that realm of, this is like, and I said this about 3 years ago. I don't know when the next time you'll see a team that pays a receiver in the top 5, top 7, top 8 in all football win a Super Bowl. I don't think it's going to happen. I think that when you have to overpay a receiver, I mean, look at the teams that have won Super Bowls. Like the Chiefs, they moved on from Tyreek Hill when he won $30 million. Before that, the Philadelphia Eagles were not paying 52. We're not paying a ton of money. The New England Patriots were not paying a ton of money. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers were not paying a ton of money for top-tier receivers. Now, they have top-tier receivers, but they weren't paying them $30 million. I think when you get to the $30 million range, you're literally saying, I'm not going to win a Super Bowl. You're just saying that. I don't want to win a Super Bowl. I just want this cool wide receiver in my showcase. With quarterbacks, it's different, right? When you have a guy like Patrick Mahomes, I mean, what can you not pay him, right? You throw 3 rookies on the field with him last year, and what did he do? He won a Super Bowl. He made Rashee Rice into a household name. Did you know who Rashee Rice was before last year? I barely did, and I watch a ton of football. You got guys like Mecole Hardman and Marquez Valdes-Scantling as your 2 and 3 on a Super Bowl team with Sky Moore.
God.
I think that Buffalo's taking that same route, and they're really copycatting what the Kansas City Chiefs are doing, and they're actually going towards the route of not overpaying a wide receiver and being able to give their franchise quarterback a lot of options. We look at Buffalo's situation where they have, I guess, 4 number 2s. I think Josh will do better with that. You got Curtis Samuel over there. You got the rookie Keon Coleman over there. I think quarterbacks can be paid, but they need a position cap, like a money cap. And I think wide receivers, when you overpay them, you're just signing up to not win a Super Bowl.
Mo, if I say to you worst quarterback situation in the NFL, what team jumps to your mind first?
The worst quarterback situation?
Yep.
The Raiders.
Raiders.
Are the Broncos one of the two? But I will go Raiders.
Gene, worst quarterback in the NFL.
I go to Raiders 100%, and then after the Raiders, I go to the Cleveland Browns. And the only reason I go with Cleveland is because they're guaranteed all that money to a quarterback that has not shown you he can play football in the last 2 years.
So Gene, and that's kind of where I wanted to go. What do you do if you're Cleveland and let's say Deshaun stays healthy? He doesn't have an injury, because that's always the fallback. If he gets hurt, it's like, well, if he stayed healthy, he was going to have those numbers. You look at his first year in Cleveland, he played 6 games. He put up numbers he put up. It was, well, he hasn't played football in a year and a half. It's a new system. Obviously, got you. No big deal. He has a full offseason. He comes in healthy. He plays the first 6 or 7 games. He has some success. I think the team was 4-2 or 5-1 with him, but his numbers matched literally almost an exact replica of the numbers he put up the previous year when he was rusty and he hadn't played football in a year and a half. Literally the exact same numbers. Then he gets hurt and he misses all that time. Now let's say he plays a full season. He puts up the same numbers again over the course of a season that he would have put up had he played the entire 2 previous seasons. They're not going to be what they were his final year in Houston. And let's say they win 9 games. What are you doing now? Because now you've seen him healthy. You don't have the, well, he was hurt excuse to fall back on. And he is a mediocre quarterback who you pay a lot of money to.
I got news for you. The Cleveland Browns have a Super Bowl roster. They have a Super Bowl roster. Do they have a top 10 running back? Yes. Do they have a top 10 receiving core? Now they added Judy with Amari Cooper and David Njoku? Yes. Do they have a top 10 offensive line? Yes. Do they have a top 10 edge rusher? Yes. Do they have top 10 linebacker crew? Yes. Do they have the best secondary in football? Possibly. They have a Super Bowl roster. It's funny. I watched 2 guys do a what is better. It's on Pick a Side. I love that podcast. And they broke down the Browns versus Steelers. And the Browns won 6-2 as far as what would you rather have, their defensive line, Cleveland or Pittsburgh. The one thing that you're completely looking at when you look at the Cleveland Browns is, can Deshaun Watson get them over the hump? I don't think he can. So if they win 9 games, you got to figure out a way to get away from him. They have to win 11 games this year. They have to win 12 games this year. But yet they're 3rd in odds to win that division behind Cincinnati and Baltimore. When their roster, map that roster up versus Cincinnati. It's 6-2 Cleveland. Position for position. Who's got a better running back? Who's got a better O-line? Granted, I'll give Cincinnati the receivers because you have Chase and Higgins. Go in the defensive end. Defensive line, linebacker, secondary. It's all Cleveland. It's 6-2. You got quarterback and wide receiver over on Cincinnati. But yet Cincinnati's projected to win more games. Why is that? Because you haven't seen it from Deshaun Watson. And I'm telling you right now, that team doesn't win 11 games this year, and there's not some crazy thing that happens with Deshaun Watson or Nick Chubb. They got to go in a different direction. Whether that's head coach, whether that's quarterback, they got to go in a different direction. They have a Super Bowl roster in Cleveland.
Gene, it's never a good situation when you have at least the 3rd best quarterback in your division. And you could make an argument that if Russ has a good season, you might have the 4th best quarterback in your division, depending on what Russ does, or depending if Justin Fields gets playing time, because his ceiling is definitely higher than I would say Deshaun's ceiling is right now. So when you're looking at that with Pittsburgh, you're literally arguing, well, is my quarterback the 3rd or 4th best quarterback in the division? Those are not playoff conversations. Those are not championship conversations. Gene, before we get you out of here, I want to pivot a little bit from the NFL. I want to talk a little WWE with you. Mo and I touched on this a couple of days ago. There's a lot of noise around World Wrestling Entertainment right now because of the Wyatt Six. Obviously, what they are doing with the continuation of the Bray Wyatt universe has gotten a lot of attention amongst wrestling circles, good and bad. And I wanted to discuss the negative side with you right now, Gene. It's the group that says this shouldn't be happening. It's the group that says that this is not, paying homage to the legacy of Bray Wyatt. This is disrespectful to Bray Wyatt. This is a money grab on Bray Wyatt. This is, his brother trying to ride his coattails after he is no longer here, because these are legitimate conversations people are having, Gene. And I look at them and I think on some level they're completely disrespectful, because there is a real life element to this. There is a man who is no longer here. There is a family who is no longer with a husband, who is no longer with a father. There is a man who no longer has his brother that you watch the documentary. You know how he felt about his brother. You know how important his brother was to him. And then you take all that away, Gene, and you look at professional wrestling, and isn't this what professional wrestling does. I mean, it is entertainment. It is storyline based. It is crossing and blurring the lines between story and real life. So I look at it as, and I make it as simple as, if his family is okay with it, then who the hell are we to say we shouldn't be okay with it, or they shouldn't be okay with it? Because you would have to imagine, if his family wasn't okay with it, it wouldn't be happening.
I mean, not only is his family okay with it, his brother is the one that's behind it. Like, who are you to say, not you, but who are you people to say that this is disrespectful to Bray Wyatt and his family when his family is literally leading the goddamn Wyatt Six? That is embarrassing. I think it's an homage to him. I think it's to keep his name. Listen, I'm going to tell you something right now. There's a lot of people that pass away in different sports, and they just go about and their name gets brought up. Oh, you remember that guy? He was great and he was awesome. And so he's gone. This is literally a tribute to him week after week after week. My only issue with the Wyatt Six is this is taking way, way too long to unfold. And I think that, I want to see them in more action, not like a segment where we scare someone, not a segment where you see someone laying on the ground. Like, I thought that was a perfect entrance for them. And then I thought they would come out and open up Monday Night Raw or open SmackDown up. Now it's like every week it's a tape. Here's a tape. Let's watch this tape. Before that was a QR code. Let's scan the QR code and have someone break down the QR code. I do like the Uncle Howdy interviews, like the interviews that they're having with with Bo Dallas. I think those are great interviews, but I want to see more from the group. And I think that everybody knows who they are. We can kind of get out from the shadows of who are these people.
Right.
Last thing, Gene, are you on board with face Roman Reigns?
I couldn't be more on board with something. I think it is. So they wanted Roman Reigns to be a babyface when Roman Reigns became Roman Reigns. Right. They wanted him to be a babyface so bad, and he was terrible at it. And he was terrible at it because he couldn't cut a good promo.
Yep.
And now that he became one of the best heels, and he was a heel that everyone loved, you're gonna get Roman and Rhea babyface, and both of them are gonna be so over as baby faces that you're going. It reminds me so much of what they did with Bianca Belair, and they made Bianca in this champion, and after Bianca was a champion, she was just this baby face that put people on. And I think that that's what Roman and Rhea are going to eventually do. I think both of them are going to be faces. They were both the biggest heels that had the biggest following. So, like, you are a heel that people love. You're not supposed to love heels. You're supposed to hate heels. Roman and Rhea had a huge fan base, and to make them both faces, I think that'll be great for WWE. I can't wait for Survivor Series, because I guarantee you're getting Bloodline 1.0 versus Bloodline 2.0.
Facts.
I can't wait for that. Like, skip SummerSlam. Like, give me Survivor Series. I want that.
Gene, what's going on with the Wire to Wire Sports Podcast tonight?
We're giving our MLB All-Star starters. So we're going to break that down. We're obviously going to break down the NBA trade deadline. We have our trivia. I'm catching up to Shally. I got a shot to tie him. It's 3-2. Weekly trivia will be on tonight. We'll break down the UFC card, which was actually a decent card. So we got a lot to go over tonight. It'll be a long show, but we'll try to keep it under 2 hours.
Gene, always a pleasure. We'll see you next week. All right.
Appreciate
you guys. Take care.
Mo, we just talked a little bit about WWE and Bray Wyatt and doing stuff with someone after they are no longer here. And we're going to close the show with this today. I wanted to get your opinion on it. I don't know if you saw the BET Awards.
Unfortunately, I did.
Okay. So you know where I'm going with this. And every year, they pay respect to people from the African-American community who are no longer with us, who had a big impact on the community. And they do the video montage, and it's similar to what like the Oscars does and the Golden Globes does. They all do.
I know where you're going.
They all do some sort of homage to the people who are no longer here. And, I think it was like a 90-second, minute and a half kind of deal. You got the nice music going behind you, the nice photographs of them come up and whatnot. People are applauding. Some applause get a little bit louder because you got bigger names and then people know more than other names. So for those big names, you get the bigger applause and the crowd goes up. And then O.J. Simpson's photograph pops up on the screen, and like you initially, like it did, like initially the pop went up a little bit because they recognized him, but then you could almost feel like people were taking a temperature of the room and being like, wait a minute, can we clap for him?
It was a pause. There was hesitation. There was quiet, and then it was like they clapped for him, but it was drawn out, man. And I'm watching it, and when his face came up, I was like, I don't know about that one. I mean, I the best I could do is say rest in peace, but I don't think I'm clapping. I mean, that was rough to watch, man. Like everybody had the same reaction, like, oh, you know what I mean? And then there was a hesitation, then it gradually built to a clap. But I was like, that was rough.
What do you do with that, Mo? Because you talk about the career, he deserves to be there.
I get that, yes.
You talk about everything else, and you're like,
and that's the problem. There's no way you can separate the career from everything else because everything it's so overwhelming. Like, look, I know his family. I'm sure they appreciated it. I guess the way I look at it, though, is his family might appreciate it, but I'm sure the Goldman's family didn't appreciate it. If it were me and I were in control, or I was one of the people that was in control who goes up, I wouldn't have put him up. I would have mentioned his name in the closing credits or something like that. Rest in peace, and put out his full name. But that's me. I wouldn't have put him up. That's just me.
I like err on the side of caution. No need to make a spectacle out of it.
Right. Because it actually took away from all the other people. And there were some terrific actors and actresses and activists that were up there that we lost. And I just thought that he didn't belong up there.
All right, Mo, good show on a Wednesday. Take us to the close, sir.
Thank you guys so much for joining us on a wonderful Wednesday. Make sure you check out all the great content we have at Wire to Wire Network. Wire to Wire Network, we appreciate you guys.
We are off tomorrow for the 4th of July. I hope all of you have an amazing and safe 4th of July weekend. But don't worry, when we come back, we're going to get you with all of the latest news when it comes to Major League Baseball, the NFL, and the NBA. All of that and more, because we always got more for you. Coffee and Sports, it's the morning show, powered by Wire to Wire Network.